Well, thanks everyone. It's getting late in the afternoon, and it is a pleasure to be here. And again, I do appreciate everyone taking the time to learn about Alexco and our path towards becoming Canada's only primary silver producer in the Keno Hill District in the Yukon. I will be making some forward-looking statements as normal, so certainly encourage you to become familiar with the cautionary language. Alexco owns the majority of the Keno Hill Silver District. We are north of Mayo. We're within the traditional territory of the First Nation of Nacho Dun. We've been there since 2006. We are in a process of continuing to ramp up development towards full-scale production. So we are in production. We're producing silver, lead, and zinc at Keno Hill and making routine concentrate shipments down to the Port of Skagway. We have a pre-feasibility study that we released last year. It's an update to our previous study. So we have about 1.4 million tons of over 804 grams per ton of silver. So this is one of the highest grade silver mines in the world, and certainly one of the highest grade deposits in the world. And as many of you know, Keno Hill is well known for its historic production, over 210 million ounces of silver at some of the highest grades in the world have been taken out of this district over a number of decades. There are very few primary silver producers left in the silver industry, meaning 50% or more of your revenue comes from silver. And in the case of Alexco, 80% of our revenue comes from silver once we're in full production, so certainly offer a lot of significant leverage to silver. Once we're in full-scale production, as we continue to approach that, we'll be on a very competitive cost basis. Significantly a part of that is because of the high-grade nature, and we'll be in the lower quartile on the cost curve. This is obviously a Yukon pavilion, but the Yukon really is for being in the north, has great infrastructure. Again, we are connected to the Yukon hydropower grid, so the entire district is connected to hydropower. We have an all-season road that goes right through the middle of the district that is maintained by the government of the Yukon. And we have access to the deep water port of Skagway. So we ship our concentrates from Keno Hill down to Skagway, and from there it goes down to a southern port and into the smelter. Beyond the production, really the success and over the last several years for Alexco has been our exploration success. We announced a significant expansion of our resource base in May of this year. It was primarily all driven by Birmingham, where we increased our indicated ounces at Birmingham by 43%. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but we now have about 87 million ounces of indicated silver in this district and another 32 million ounces of inferred resources. Again, that's within a mining reserve of about 35 million ounces. So it's only about 35 to 40% of this large resource base is within the mine plan right now. Our ramp up has certainly been slower than originally anticipated and scheduled. But having said that, I think we have made some significant accomplishments and milestones to date. We've developed over 1,200 meters of lateral development at Birmingham over the last year or so. A significant capital construction project was the completion of a 180-meter high ventilation raise from the mine up to surface. So that serves as our primary ventilation, as well as our secondary escape egress for the mine. We've got a new 12-kilometer haul road that we haul our ore from the Birmingham mine down to the Keno District mill. And we are currently mining ore at Birmingham using long hole stoping methods on the 1150 level. So this was the first ore horizon at Birmingham, and we will be accessing what we call the 1120. So this is the highest grade portion of this deposit, and we're just several weeks away from accessing better than 2,000 gram material, silver material at the 1120 level. Over at Flame and Moth, which sits right next to the district mill, similar, we've completed over 1 kilometer of lateral development We are currently mining ore at Flame and Moth on two different levels, the 835 and what we call the 815. So we have 4 to 5 ore faces opened up at Flame and Moth. And our results in April, mined just over 2,000 grams, or 2,000 tons at Flame and Moth at better than 730 grams per ton. So certainly the block model is holding together very well on the 815 level from what we see at Flame and Moth. You know, there's a lot of kind of inflationary cost pressures that I know everybody, you know, hears about in the industry, primarily related to large capital construction projects. You know, all of the big capital for Alexco and Keno Hill is behind us. So we have already, you know, completed all of our major projects. We've added additional grinding capacity in the mill, additional concentrate regrind mills. We have a new building over our crusher, which improves our winter crushing performance. We've upgraded our camp. We've doubled our filtration capacity for tailings, new warehousing. So all of those big kind of heavy capital projects are complete. You know, so again, doesn't mean we're totally immune to some of the inflation right now, but for us, it's all about development rates and development meters per day. And we'll talk a little bit about again, the exploration plans for this summer. But again, last year we completed a pretty significant program, just over 17,000 meters, using directional drill technology, focused all on infill drilling this Birmingham deep deposit, and announced a new resource on that earlier this year that we'll talk about. Like I said at the beginning, there are, you know, on one hand, you can count the number of primary silver producers in this industry, companies that have, you know, majority of the revenue coming from silver. You can kind of look at the comparison of some of the peers in the silver space, and again, Alexco is by far the highest leverage to silver. And again, in full-scale production, we should be in the $12 to $13 US per ounce contained silver ounce costs, all-in sustaining costs based on contained silver ounces. In terms of the Birmingham deep deposit, again, we drilled this deposit off last year. This was a discovery we made several years ago. Again, put over 17,000 meters into this. Announced an updated resource, so we now have over 1.5 million tons at better than 930 gram per ton silver in the indicated category, and another over 800,000 tons at better than 700 gram material in the inferred category. So you can see the different blocks there. I mean, the light pink on the outside, that's the inferred material. The darker red is the indicated, and then that gray color is the mining reserve in the mine plan. So as you can see, this new discovery is not currently in our mine plan. As I said, we've got an 8-year project, 1.4 million tons of over 800 gram per ton silver. So we are now just starting the process of putting together a mine plan, some mine layouts, various scenarios to bring this Birmingham deep discovery into our mine plan. What's important to note and to point out here is on the western end, the western flank of that Birmingham deep, we're only a couple hundred meters away from the planned infrastructure in the bottom of the ramp in our current mine layout. So it does offer, you know, the opportunity, you know, to bring that Birmingham deep into the production profile within the next several years. In terms of exploration this summer, you know, I think you can, you know, our exploration strategy to date has really kind of been, you know, partly due to our success. I mean, what happens here is we've made a couple major discoveries, first Flame and Moth and then Birmingham. So we make these discoveries and then we spend the next 2 or 3 years kind of drilling these things off, bringing them up, you know, into the inferred and then in the indicated, into a resource category, eventually into a mine plan. So we haven't done a lot of, you know, more reconnaissance type exploration for several years, you know, but now we're in a position where we have an 8-year mine life, an 8-year project. You know, we have another 1.5 million, you know, tons of indicated ounces or indicated tons at Birmingham. We have this deep discovery. So we think we have a lot of runway now to step back and to do some more reconnaissance type exploration. So we're just starting up here in the next couple of weeks, planning about a fairly modest program, just about 10,000 meters this year, and primarily focused on kind of a long strike of the Birmingham deposit, along with a number of other targets that have been identified throughout this district. So it's much more of a kind of a regional approach than we've taken before. And again, I think we've got an excellent understanding now of more the structural geology on what hosts these large high-grade deposits like Flame and Moth, Birmingham, Hector Calumet, Silver King. These are all some of the larger higher grade deposits in the district. And now with our structural geology understanding, we're going to start to put a few holes in each one of these targets this year. In terms of growth, right now our 100% focus is continuing to ramp up our development pace underground and reaching full-scale production. Certainly proud of the safety record that we've had at Keno Hill during COVID, some of the COVID challenges. But currently our focus is improving advance rates through improving equipment availability. Certainly, again, we talked about inflation. Supply chain challenges are certainly real in this industry right now. Things that might have taken 1 to 2 weeks to get to site are now 2 to 3 months. So that certainly has had an impact on our equipment availability. So that's what our focus is right now. We're bringing some additional leased equipment in, mostly for underground scoop trams. But again, it's all about development meters per day to open up more ore faces and more ore levels at both of our mines. Once in full-scale production, our pre-feasibility study outlines a step up in throughput in year 3, so beyond the 400 tons per day. And again, the opportunity to convert more of this 100 million ounces of indicated and inferred resource, move more of that into the reserve and into the mine plan. And then beyond that, certainly not the immediate, but at some point, we recognize that we need to move beyond a single asset company. That's not our immediate, objective. Again, clearly the objective is full-scale production at Keno Hill. And just talk a little bit about and wrap up with ESG. ESG is an important part of everybody's business and how we operate. And quite honestly, it's really how we started this company. We took on, in partnership with the Government of Canada, to clean up, decades of environmental, legacy pollution at Keno Hill. And it's been 15 years in the making, but we now have a plan that's in front of the Yukon Water Board, close to being permitted. That's a $60 to $70 million project that the Government of Canada pays for us to build water treatment plants and clean up this legacy liability. But in terms of people, we've got about 195 employees that are onboarded at Keno Hill. Certainly a Western Canadian workforce. 75% or so of our employees are Yukon, BC. And very proud of the partnership that we have with NND and the NND Development Corp. About 25% of all of our expenditures at Keno Hill flow through an NND business or an NND joint venture. So they're really a partner, and that's important in the services that they provide. And we were one of the first companies that actually put a modern CCBA agreement together with NND back in 2006. So that's where we are. Again, clearly the focus is to ramp up to full-scale production. And continue to ship the silver concentrate. So thank you.